Vegas knows how to celebrate. If you're headed to Vegas for your birthday, plan ahead to get all the birthday freebies the city has to offer. Just by showing your ID, you could get free cash play, scratch cards, drinks, and food at various venues on the Strip. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
It should be illegal for Scottie Scheffler to play on the PGA Tour. This guy can't be stopped. Another victory at the BMW Championship. He has a chip on the 17th, which will go down in the history books. 82 feet, landed 60 feet short, and then rolled the rest of the way. Super exciting win again for Scheffler, who is not only the best golfer in the world, he's becoming one of the best golfers of all time.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Passing offense is him, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert. They have Jahan Dotson. They just recently traded for John Mechie from the Houston Texans. Now, obviously, yes, Saquon is there, but a lot of people are expecting the Eagles to have an increase in their passing rate this year. They won't rely as heavily on Saquon, and it should just mean more volume overall. Obviously, Brown was fantastic, and he did so in not playing a full season last year.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
The Giants are probably going to open up 1-5 on the season. So then you start to say the fans are getting angry. They just want to see Dart. The ownership's like, hey, you know what? Maybe we make the right move with Russ here. But then you have self-preservation mode with the general manager and the head coach where it almost seems like it's inevitable. Midway through the season, it's going to have to be Jackson Dart. Otherwise, what are we doing, Giants?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Fantasy Sports Today on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish along with George Kurtz. It's fantasy football draft season. Many of you drafting your teams this weekend. The rest of you, I would guess, next weekend. And then for people like me and George, we'll wait right till the bitter end. My second draft is Labor Day night. Welcome back to the show once again, George. We've got some news to go over. We've got preseason week 3 wrapping up this week, including games, of course, coming up on Saturday. Even a trade happened in fantasy and in reality, too. We'll get to that in a second. But, George, it's really go time for you and I, this week, next week, our fantasy shows, and then we get to the real thing.
Yeah, well, we're under 2 weeks now, right? 13 days till the Cowboys play Philadelphia. It's not going to go well for Dallas. It feels like it's getting real now. It does feel like it's getting closer here. Now we have week 3 of preseason over the weekend, whatever that's worth to you. Some teams will play their regulars. Most teams will not there. So at this point, Craig, for the teams that I've already drafted, I'm just hoping don't get hurt, right? That's always the thing you want to get. Don't get hurt. Please, I don't want to lose anybody before week 1, which is why you and I both agree we like to have our draft as late as possible.
Yeah, my son, he's 13 years old. This is the first year that he will do a fantasy football draft. He and I believe it's 9 of his buddies are all getting together this weekend in person to do this. And so I think he doesn't want me around. He doesn't want them thinking that there's some sort of advantage. And I'm trying to explain to him it's a disadvantage with me having around. I'm not gonna all right, so let's get to the trade that happened over the weekend and how it affects fantasy, and then we'll get to the rest of the news because this is the freshest story on the board. And George, as you and I suspected, Brian Robinson was traded for nothing. Let's just be honest. He was dealt for a 6th-round pick. It's slightly above cut range here because a 7th-round pick is a cut player. 7th-round picks basically don't play in the NFL. Someone's yelling, oh, but this guy played in the NFL. Yes. 1 out of every 30 make the team. 2 out of every 30. A 6th-round pick is like nothing. So Robinson, good player, by the way, for Washington. And it just seemed like basically, George, he didn't fit the offense, I guess, that they were trying to be involved in. A lot of folks over the weekend now seeing a rise sort of astronomically of any other player in fantasy, Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt, who is the rookie running back there. But I got to say, George, I would be very surprised. I think that player, we'll get to Robinson, but I think that player in particular, this rookie, is going to be overdrafted. I mean, this is a team that's trying to win right now They have a veteran in Austin Eckler. If you like him or not, that's on you. They have a running back also that was there last year in Rodriguez who could punch the ball in the end zone. I'm not saying that this kid may not be a star because he may be, but all of a sudden he's being drafted, it feels like, in the last 24 hours, going from the 11th round to like the 6th round and the 7th round in fantasy. And I got to tell you, he's a week or two or a fumble or two away from being exactly who you thought he'd be going into the season. What do you make of this whole Washington running back situation?
I would wonder, what is there more to the story than we know? Because it was strange they just let go of Brian Robinson, who was a serviceable back. All right, it wasn't great. He's not a Pro Bowl or anything like that, but he was a serviceable back. So for them to trade him, as you said, for a 6th round pick, I mean, weird. I just found it weird that they would make the move here, unless they were just in love with JCM and what they think he can bring here. But I agree with you. And I think you're being kind at a 6th round pick. I think he's going to go even earlier than that as we keep going on here. We all know, listen, running backs that are breathing, that have a pulse, they're valuable. And I would still want Eckler above him, but he's going to start. He might be the goal line guy too. So I think there's value there. I do. But yeah, I would rein it in a little bit. There are a lot of guys in his range here that you just don't know. All right. So weird. And by the way, the Washington offensive line, not very good. Let's not forget that Jaden Daniels can run at the goal line as well. So
Yeah, that's true.
I would just temp down the expectations as far as JCM is concerned, but he's going to be drafted high. And boy, if you drafted Isaac Garendo late in a league like I did, yeah, he'll be one of the first people I now release during bye week time, right, to move on, because Brian Robinson is a better player. I would expect he'd be the number one backup to Christian McCaffrey. And by the way, for those who are worried, there's nothing wrong with CMC. He's the one back on San Fran, by the way, that hasn't gotten hurt. The others, Garendo and his company, they have been banged up a little bit. CMC's been fine.
Yeah, no, it's the same worry on McCaffrey that you would have had going into the season. That hasn't changed. I don't think Robinson changes the equation at all. But McCaffrey's not on the field on every single play, and eventually somebody else gets a series. And instead of Mason, who we saw last year at the beginning, or instead of Garendo, who we saw last year too, it's going to be Brian Robinson. I think that's fair to say going into the season. I'll tell you the one thing that I did notice, this is more of a prop or a betting perspective, George, on an earlier show that I did on FanDuel, Jaden Daniels' his touchdown rushing number, still 5.5 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. That to me was more interesting, because I do think that in this offense, you may see 8, 9, 10 rushing touchdowns from him, where they used to give the ball to Brian Robinson. I don't know that they have that guarantee now at the goal line. So to me, that was just the one interesting number that I think should be adjusted. So in terms of the rest of the headlines, Matthew Stafford, I guess he is back. We're going to hit on that. Looks like the Cleveland Browns and the Indianapolis Colts have new starters this year. Flacco, Daniel Jones makes it official. Jackson Darts look great, by the way. No word officially on that. It does feel like by the time we do our next show, or even sooner, Russell Wilson officially will be named the starter, but it looks like Jackson Dart has been great. So now let's dive back into the same story we've been doing here for like 2 weeks, which is the Rams starting quarterback situation. Matthew Stafford, is he even back at practice? Is like, what's going on here? It's like, is this ceremonial in some way in nature? I hate to say that, George, but they're not like full practices. He did an interview yesterday where he comes out and says he's not going to get into details about what's going on. We've never heard that from Stafford before. I mean, is this a big? Are they pulling the wool out from under us here? Like, well, I don't know what is going on here, but I still don't feel like this is like the biggest mystery I think going into the NFL season. Is Stafford healthy? Is he going to play week 1? Is he going to play at all? It's very bizarre to me. What do you make of this?
It's concerning. Now, if you want to believe Sean McVay, and I understand we say that, there's some salt and a little smirk there. He did say yesterday that Stafford has been a full participant at practice this week and has looked like the stud we know. All right, that's his quote. Not his words, not mine. You and I both have our issues with McVay. I don't know how is he telling the truth? Maybe he is, maybe he's not. I think it comes down to this. In a one quarterback league, I don't want him as my starter. I'm not going to do it. A 2-quarterback league, of course, he's going to be drafted. So that's fine. When you got to do what you got to do there. Right. It does affect. I think Nakua now drops behind Collins, behind Neighbors.
Maybe.
I think he does. And for someone who plays in multiple leagues, which I do, I'm only taking Nakua in one league. All right, I'll take somebody else. I'm gonna diversify. All right, just in case that Stafford, because even Craig, let's just say McVay's telling the truth. How many games do we expect Stafford to play anyway? Like I said, my over-under is 13.5. And I think it's about what he'll play. He'll miss a couple of games. He might miss fantasy playoffs. So once again, I'm going to have to be very cautious on what I do with Nakua here. And the same, by the way, holds true with Devontae Adams. One league,
Right.
one league only.
Can Stafford be like Roger Clemens in the past and just show up with 10 days to go and start week 1? You think that's legit? Like, is that more of like a Favre? Like, can he do that? You think so?
He knows the offense. I guess theoretically it's possible, but I don't love it. I don't love it. I mean, but yes, I guess theoretically he could do that. Assuming from this point forward that he's fine, he'd have 2 full weeks. I guess I would be okay with that. But once again, I'm not going to expect him to play a full season. It's going to be a major problem for me.
Yeah. Okay, I got this one right. Daniel Jones was named the starter of the Indianapolis Colts. Certainly more of an indictment, I think, on Richardson than it is propping up Daniel Jones, George. But I think that the coaching staff feeling pressure and they're in win now mode.
You just said what's bingo for me. The coaching staff feeling pressure. If you're looking long term, this makes no sense. Jones is what he is. You got to find out about Richardson here. But I think you said it perfectly. Coaching staff under fire.
No doubt. All right. We got to take a quick break before we get under fire for these brief messages, and then we'll be back with more Fantasy Sports Today.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
It doesn't matter that they're early in the game, late in the game, they're trailing, they're leading. It doesn't matter garbage time. CeeDee Lamb is the guy. And we saw that even after Dak got hurt last year and Cooper Rush was under center. Targets were going to CeeDee Lamb. And when you can get 9, 10, 12, 15 targets on a game-by-game basis, he's going to rack up fantasy points every single week. Frankly, he underperformed last year.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Answer is this. 12-team, 3 wide receiver, you take Jamar Chase. In a 10-team league, though, where you have only 2 wide receivers to start, it's an interesting supply and demand situation with a roster like that. That is where the Bijan number 1 overall maybe comes into play, because you could take Bijan and then turn around. You're still getting 2 number 1 wide receivers in a 10-team league draft.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
In extras, knocked out the Reds 6-5. This team doesn't lose. And the only thing I want to say, Tom, is I just hope they can continue this. Now, what does that mean? 40 games in a row? Of course we know it's not going to be the case. They are peaking right now. We've seen so many times. Baseball's a long season. Boy, if the Brewers are playing this baseball on September the 28th, watch out. But they are sensational right now.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Our fantasy football preview continue, if I can get that out right here on SportsGrid. Have you noticed it's the weekend? Kansas City Chiefs. George and I will take a deeper look at their fantasy possibilities for the year. Of course, it all starts and ends. Who would have thought a down year for Patrick Mahomes last season? Yes, it was a legit down season. He had only 3,900 passing yards and 28 touchdowns, which in the fantasy world is probably, oh my gosh, bottom 15? Not even in the top 15 of quarterbacks, George? Wow, just wasn't his year, I guess. They also ran a different offense. It seemed like they weren't comfortable with a lot of things. So the question is have we seen Mahomes' best already? Or is last year the chip on the shoulder that brings him back to over 4,300 yards, say, and another 40 touchdowns?
I mean, he did play better in the last third of last year, fantasy-wise. He did play a little better here. But that being said, it's the same offense, right? I mean, Rice, okay, he missed most of last year, but he's going to get suspended, by the way. The big argument there is apparently the NFL wants 8 games, and Rice's people want significantly less than 8. All right, so good luck. We'll see what happens. And I think it's going to be the bigger problem for Rice, by the way, is I think he's going to be suspended for your fantasy playoffs. All right, so he gets if they come down to 6, if they don't figure this out until October, he's gone for your playoffs there. So that's concerning as well. But it's the same receiving group, right? Rice, Worthy, Brown, who's banged up again now. I don't know what you're going to get out of him. And Travis Kelce, who's another year older. And Travis actually admitted, by the way, that, everything that's going on in my life, the acting and the podcast, probably did take a toll on I guess on my availability or my getting ready for last season. So none of this is going to get better. All right, so I have concerns here. I think he's ranked pretty much as the 6th best quarterback, right after Hurts, Daniels, Jackson, Allen, Burrows in a tier of his own. Then most people have Mahomes the top of that next tier. I don't know that I do. I don't know that I do, Craig. I just
no, it's hard.
They just haven't. Where's that number one guy? They haven't gotten. I just find it weird that they haven't done that. It's like they expect Mahomes to be a magician with a bunch of wide receiver 2s and an aging Hall of Fame tight end.
Yeah, I mean, and Kelsey's definitely there. Now, you would assume that running back would take advantage of this sort of situation, but that didn't even happen last year. Isaiah Pacheco missed a lot of the season with an injury. They brought back Kareem Hunt. I guess the only new name there is Elijah Mitchell, who was thought to, potentially be a starter at some point in the NFL after like 7 other running backs in San Francisco got hurt, but he moved on. I guess having health with Pacheco, George, is just unequivocally going to lead to double-digit touchdowns. But what beyond that? What beyond that would you get?
Well, I think you said the key thing, though. I have as a running back, low-end running back, too, because you're right. If he stays healthy, I do expect, 10 to 12 touchdowns. But he's not going to catch 80 balls. He's not going to run for 1,200 yards. So if you don't get those touchdowns, you're sort of screwed here. And you do have Kareem Hunt still there, he was pretty usable at times last year, right? Because someone had to get the touchdowns, and we know Kareem had a little juice left here. The depth is nice, but these are all NFL running back 2s. There's no running back 1. So you're drafting Pacheco round 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there, but you want the touchdowns. Right. Hunt is later on in your draft. You want to take a backup, so a handcuff, whatever you want to call it there, fine. You're not taking Elijah Mitchell. You'll be a waiver wire pickup at some point when one of the first 2 guys gets hurt. But there's no upside here. Like I said, Pacheco's not going to be all of a sudden the next Christian and McCaffrey. That's not going to happen. So there's not a lot of upside.
Yeah, would agree. Wide receiver, look, I mean, at times Xavier Worthy did look like he was worthy, no pun intended, of being a wide receiver 2 or maybe eventually wide receiver 1. So he is definitely somebody I think to consider on draft day. Rice, not so much with all the issues. Travis Kelce still within the top 10 in tight ends, and you would imagine based on what we saw in the Super Bowl, still going to get a lot of touches. But Marquise Brown, another wide receiver that, they brought in along these lines, George, of, Sky Moore and DeAndre Hopkins and Juju Smith-Schuster, like everyone trying to say that there's going to be this Chiefs breakout wide receiver. I mean, I think Worthy is really the only one that even comes close to fitting that category. I think we have to just kind of give up on the idea that anyone's going to come close to replacing Tyreek Hill's production. It doesn't matter who they've tried. It has not worked.
Agreed. All right. I said, I'm not touching Rice, so we already went by that. Not going to happen. I don't know what the suspension is going to be, and I don't know when he's going to serve it. I'll pass. I do agree with the word that he'll be better. What do you have last year? About 58 catches, 600-something yards. I think he could do at least 10, 20% better than those numbers here. So I do expect closer to 1,000 yards here, maybe 70, 75 balls. I think he has the possibility of eventually being a wide receiver 1. Not this year. I think it's more down the line here. But he is the guy I'd want here. We're seeing Kelce drop in all drafts. He's pretty much a tight end 6 around there when people are going for him. So don't draft the name. I think they will be cautious with him again. And part of that reason is I really like Noah Gray, by the way. I like Gray. I think if Kelsey would have retired, Gray could have been, once again, a top 10 tight end. So I think they feel comfortable using Gray where they'll rest Kelsey. If he's not going to play 80 plays a game. Maybe Kelsey's on the field 55, 60 plays a game because Gray is that kind of guy, which, by the way, could be good all around. Keeps Kelsey fresh, keeps him healthy here. The other one is Hollywood Brown. No thanks here. Maybe late in your draft, you want to take a flyer on him, fine. But he'll be one of those first guys I release during bye week time when I need a filler.
Yeah, isn't it kind of funny how this is maybe the first year, George, that we don't have that like free agent signing by Kansas City? Whether it's, as I mentioned, the names again, Juju, Hopkins. I think I'm missing somebody else that they signed and it was just total bust that just came in and didn't do anything. It always has felt like, you could say that Worthy was that guy last year via the draft, but it does feel like for the first time they're running it back with what they had more or less. So maybe there's some optimism for some of those guys.
I'm just surprised they didn't give Mahomes that guy. Go for that guy. I understand this. You're drafting late. It's not easy in a draft, but you didn't sign anybody either. You didn't make a trade here. Maybe they hope if somebody comes free on the waiver wire. These guys generally don't know any that are worthwhile anyway. So I'm just, but they do this year after year after year, right? They really don't get that guy for Mahomes. But hey, maybe they think that Worthy's going to have that big season. That hey, he's ready to take that next step, that big jump here, and he'll be that guy.
Yeah, and honestly, they had one in Tyreek Hill, so the notion that they don't want to do it is false. I just think that that's where they've struck out through the years, is finding that alpha wide receiver. All right, Denver Broncos preview coming up next on Fantasy Sports Today.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
It doesn't matter that they're early in the game, late in the game, they're trailing, they're leading. It doesn't matter, garbage time. CeeDee Lamb is the guy. And we saw that even after Dak got hurt last year and Cooper Rush was under center. Targets were going to CeeDee Lamb. And when you can get 9, 10, 12, 15 targets on a game-by-game basis, he's going to rack up fantasy points every single week. Frankly, he underperformed last year.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Answer is this. 12-team, 3 wide receiver, you take Jamar Chase. In a 10-team league, though, where you have only 2 wide receivers to start, it's an interesting supply and demand situation with a roster like that. That is where the Bijan number 1 overall maybe comes into play, because you could take Bijan and then turn around. You're still getting 2 number 1 wide receivers in a 10-team league draft.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
In extras, knocked out the Reds 6-5. This team doesn't lose. And the only thing I want to say, Tom, is I just hope they can continue this. Now, what does that mean? 40 games in a row? Of course we know it's not going to be the case. They are peaking right now. We've seen so many times. Baseball's a long season. Boy, if the Brewers are playing this baseball on September the 28th, watch out. But they are sensational right now.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. Craig Mish along with George Kurtz. Time to take a look at the Denver Broncos, and our fantasy season previews continue. And a quarterback that's actually being drafted ahead of Patrick Mahomes in virtually every fantasy league is Bo Nix, who was just so fantastic last year as the season rolled on. And you see that gaudy number. That's the reason why that Bo Nix is being drafted. It's not the completions or the passing yards. George, it is those rushing yards. 430. rushing yards on the season. If you consider that most like flex running backs are getting 800-900, this guy's doing it for you every single week. I know it's not a lot if you add up the whole season, but it adds a lot to the table. Also 33 total touchdowns. Look, give credit to Sean Payton where it's due. It took him a couple of years to find his way in Denver. He was stuck with some personnel he didn't like. A lot of people thought Bo Nix wasn't going to be very good, George. Honestly, a lot of people were like, this is the bust in college coming out. But so far, so good. He's got his next Drew Brees. Is that fair?
I don't know if I'm going to compare him with Drew Brees, but it looks good, right? You're right. Bo Nix is flying up draft boards, and for the reasons you mentioned here, mainly the rushing yards there. Everybody wants a rushing quarterback, right? We all want those extra points, 30, 40, 50 yards rushing each week that they could bring here. And I think, once again, I think his numbers will go up. Second-year player, right? He'll get better. He knows the NFL. Things are going to slow down for him a little bit. So, yes, I'm interested in Bo Nix as well. I am probably not as high on him as some. I think once again, I think we need to tempt it in a little bit here. I don't think Sean wants to play a wide open game. Remember, Denver's defense might be number one in the NFL. They don't need to play 31-28 games. I don't think he's going to let Bo just drop back there and throw the ball 35, 40 times. He's going to want to play closer to the vest here. So that's my only negative about Bo is that as much as we think Sean Payton, offensive guy, I think Sean knows what he has on defense, and it's really good. So he's not going to want to make Bo make those mistakes. Play a lot of time kills, get the running game going, sort of like that. But yeah, Bo Nix is definitely a quarterback one in even in 10-team fantasy leagues.
Now, running back is where things get interesting with Denver, as you can imagine, because they have one former starter in the NFL, and then they used a relatively high draft pick on another. The other one, and George, I think I'm kind of more on board on this one, like as opposed to Washington, and R.J. Harvey, who's a really good player in college and has looked really good thus far in those games that they've played. J.K. Dobbins also signed with the Broncos in the offseason, so you could expect him to get a lot of time, although injuries have been the story with him. And then Jaleel McLaughlin is kind of that third down back and maybe somebody in a deeper league that if both guys went down, McLaughlin could potentially be part of that equation. So Harvey is definitely, George, somebody that I'm interested in on draft day. A good college player. Don't fully really trust Dobbins behind him. And Denver running backs through the years, George, even when we've gone away from the single guy, from the Terrell Davis and the Orlando Scary. I mean, they had that history of all those running backs. It feels like they still do a good job with the two running back situations, because you remember Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. Gordon was always getting those touchdowns. I think both Harvey and Dobbins will have a fantasy role together this year.
I would agree. We see that with a lot of teams anyway here. I would rather have Harvey. I'll take the upside in Harvey. All right. But as far as the other rookie running backs, Hampton, Henderson, of course, Genty, he is fourth for me. All right. I do like the others better. Now, when I say that, it's not that much better. I have him as an RB2. Only Genty's an RB1 for me as far as the rookies are concerned here. So they're all RB2s. But I have a lower end RB2, and it's because of Dobbins. He's there. I think he's going to steal some time, or maybe it's the other way around, where one's stealing time from the other here. Who's going to be the touchdown guy? Who does Peyton trust? Right. And as you saw, you bring up Melvin Gordon. You fumble at the goal line once or twice, all of a sudden you're not getting the ball anymore there, right? There's nothing worse for a fantasy owner than that, right? When your running back starts fumbling at the goal line.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon, once upon a time, starting running back in fantasy. All right, Cortland Sutton is the top pass catcher for the Broncos, and look, he's been through all these different quarterbacks and situations that they have, and really had a nice season last year. He's definitely a plug-in wide receiver 2 or 3. Marvin Mims after that. Evan Ingram is now their starting tight end in Denver. Pat Bryant, Troy Franklin is another wide receiver there. I guess the positive for Denver is I do really like Sutton, and I think Mims can be good. But, boy, this seems like a thin group to me. It seems like if Peyton wants to go 3 wide, I'm not sure which direction he'd go.
Yeah, I can be a little negative here. And if one of those guys gets hurt, this team is screwed. All right. If Ingram gets hurt or if Sutton gets hurt, they're in a lot of trouble here. They need those guys to stay healthy there. Sutton, you already said it, the wide receiver, low-end wide receiver 2 for me. Ingram, I like Ingram. Keep in mind, not a touchdown guy. He's a reception guy. PPR, good. If you're looking for touchdowns in a standard league, that could be a problem.
And if you play with kickers, you always want to take the Denver kicker. That's my only kicker advice of the season. I may have more on a special coming up soon that you may see here on SportsGrid. Chargers preview up next.
sharpest football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
It doesn't matter that they're early in the game, late in the game, they're trailing, they're leading. It doesn't matter, garbage time. CeeDee Lamb is the guy, and we saw that even after Dak got hurt last year and Cooper Rush was under center. Targets were going to CeeDee Lamb. And when you can get 9, 10, 12, 15 targets on a game-by-game basis, he's going to rack up fantasy points every single week. Frankly, he underperformed last year.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Answer is this. 12-team, 3 wide receiver, you take Jamar Chase. In a 10-team league, though, where you have only 2 wide receivers to start, it's an interesting supply and demand situation with a roster like that. That is where the Bijan number 1 overall maybe comes into play, because you could take Bijan and then turn around. You're still getting 2 number 1 wide receivers in a 10-team league draft.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
In extras, knocked out the Reds 6-5. This team doesn't lose. And the only thing I want to say, Tom, is I just hope they can continue this. Now, what does that mean? 40 games in a row? Of course we know it's not going to be the case. They are peaking right now. We've seen so many times. Baseball's a long season. Boy, if the Brewers are playing this baseball on September the 28th, watch out. But they are sensational right now.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Los Angeles Chargers under Jim Harbaugh made quite the strides last year. Actually, George looked capable of not blowing games like every single game throughout the season. The question is, can they take the next step this season? And can Justin Herbert be what he was with Brandon Staley? Remember that guy? Yeah, he was the head coach of the Chargers. This was the guy that was letting Justin Herbert initially throw for 4,500 yards and like 40 touchdowns. Not anymore, George. Look at these numbers. 25 touchdowns on the season for your starting quarterback in fantasy? Are you kidding me? That's what Herbert was last season. 3,800 passing yards. Yikes. Like, I mean, I thought that there would just be a lot more in him. I guess they've chosen to go this route. It's by purpose. But I would tell you that if you put Herbert on a really bad team with a bad defense, this guy could easily throw for 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns. It's just not happening with the LA Chargers.
Agreed, right? We know it could happen, but keep in mind, they only have one pass catcher. I mean, that's it. All right, so that's also an issue. And by the way, Ladd McConkey, they should put him in bubble wrap and make sure he's healthy there. So that's always going to be a problem. I think Justin Herbert, NFL-wise, is easy, a top 8 quarterback. Fantasy-wise, no. That's not the way Harbaugh wants to play anyway. He wants to run the ball, and we know that with what he did in the draft, right? Huge loss when Slater got hurt. All right, he's one of the best offensive linemen in football. That's a monster loss for the Chargers here. So we'll see how that affects the team. But, it's a really good team with a good defense. Not a great defense, but a good defense. And Harbaugh wants to win with the run game, wants to control the game. Doesn't want to have, what's the old Bill Parcells axiom when you throw the football? 3 things can happen, 2 of them bad. So there's that. So I love Herbert, but he's a better NFL quarterback than he is a fantasy quarterback.
Running back for the Chargers has taken a different path from where we were in June, because in July, Najee Harris had an accident with some fireworks. And boy, I mean, maybe this is a bigger mystery than Matthew Stafford, because George, you just don't see anything. You don't see him on the field that much. We're not really following it. There's some thought that maybe he's going to miss the beginning of the season even still. So Omarion Hampton, who was drafted, was expected to be a backup, has now just stormed up the ADP charts, RB16 at this point, with the sort of uncertainty for Najee going into the season. And then if you want to make fun of some fantasy quote-unquote experts last season, do a Twitter search of Kimani Vidal, and you'll see a lot of people being wrong last year. This guy was an absolute nothing Everyone told me he was going to be fantastic. Let's do Najee Harris here, George. What's going on? Is he going to play? Like, what's the story here?
Once again, you're playing the game. Do you believe the head coach? All right, if you believe Harbaugh, he said, I think today, what's the quote from Harbaugh here? He's getting better and better every day. All right, so if you believe that, then he should be fine, you would think. But what's your definition of better and better? All right, it could be just minuscule, but you're technically getting better and better. Do I think he plays week 1? Sure. Do I think he matters? No. I don't want Najee Harris. Once again, you want to take him as a late round flyer? Fine, go for it. But I'm not anything else. I'm not touching him here. I am big on Hampton. I like him a lot here. He's a guy in a keeper league that one of those I highlight. I want to see if I can get him in the keeper rounds, which is going to be very difficult in some leagues. So we'll see here. I mentioned again though the loss of Slater hurts. I was higher on him 2 weeks ago before Slater got out for the season when I thought he's going to have a really good running game here. But the injury to Harris is good for Hampton. He's got all the reps here, assuming he can pick up the blitz. I think he's going to be that guy anyway, but now I think he's going to be that guy earlier in the season than we might have expected.
Maybe I just haven't followed this close enough, and you guys could tell me. Has Najee Harris done an interview at all in the preseason? Has he been interviewed once? Like one time? One quote? Anything? How is that possible?
I'm going to say, did he? I forget. He something with his eyes, right? Fireworks eyes?
Yes, he had right. But how is it possible? I mean, maybe I'm totally wrong. I don't want to be because I've been in locker rooms and done interviews and stuff like that. It seems really strange that every player doesn't have to have some media availability at some point. But
I wonder if something happened to his face.
No, definitely the case. And I feel horrible for the guy, but still it's just odd that even through like a phone call that there would be no media access at all. It's just strange. All right, so Ladd McConkey I like a lot. This is a Harbaugh guy. Wide receiver 11, George. To me, this is like a borderline early second round pick, man. I think he's going to be fantastic, and I don't want anyone else. That's case closed. That's it. McConkey's going to be awesome.
McConkey or bust. McConkey or bust. There's nobody else there.
He's going to. How many would you? If I set the number, I don't even know what the FanDuel number is. It's probably like 10 something. He could get 120, man. I mean, he could go bananas this year. I mean, he's going to get every target.
My only, I guess, negative would be, boy, Craig, if you're a defensive coordinator, I'm a defensive coordinator. Everybody on him. Force him to throw the ball.
But George, but not really. But not really when you think about it. And I'll tell you why. In this day and age of the NFL, they've changed. They let that happen. They're like, oh, you want to keep doing it? Keep doing it. As long as you don't go deep on us. That's the way that they play defense in the NFL. And that's the way that they coach it. So there's never going to be double coverage on this guy.
They don't believe you can do it over and over again without a penalty, without a mistake, without a sack. So that's the way the game is played. Just don't go over the top on us.
100 catches easy for Ladd McConkey. I mean, I think he's going to be a
Would you take
star.
McConkey over Nakua? Right now, would you take McConkey over Nakua?
Definitely.
Yeah, so would I.
The only look, I obviously would not take Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb. And then now I got to think at this point.
Collins,
I'm on Ross St. Brown.
Nakua.
Oh, right. Collins, maybe Neighbors. I'm right there, though. I am right there after that. I don't need to go any further.
I'm with you.
He's not wide receiver 11. Not for me. Much higher. 7, 8. All right. Now let's move on from the Chargers to the Raiders. And the Raiders have a new head coach. It's Pete Carroll. And he is running it back with his old quarterback, Geno Smith. Geno Smith, certainly in a 2-quarterback league, very capable. Not a 1-quarterback league type guy. Fell off a lot in terms of total touchdowns last season, just 23. He's had a career, I think, that's fantastic. He's, from been at the top to the bottom and come all the way back. Love this guy's integrity, and I love the way that he plays the game. But I think the Raiders, George, are counting on a lot of running from the guy that they drafted this past year. I think that's going to be a major part of what they do. I hope for them that it works. Because, Geno Smith does have these meltdowns near the red zone, man. And once that starts happening, things go sideways. So for me, I'm hopeful. I'd love to see the Raiders relevant again. I just don't know that this is the year for that.
You just said the key thing for me as someone who had Geno Smith on a team last year. Man, does he make some weird decisions in the red zone. It's like, what do you do? What did you see there? He's a quarterback too in fantasy, right? Superflex league, you're fine. Low end quarterback too at that, by the way. 2 quarterback leagues, you're good here. 1 quarterback league, not touching him. And you're absolutely right. This team this obviously is gonna run through Genty and what he can do. All right, if he's good, hey, everything gets easier. Safeties have to crawl up here. They can get maybe Bowers or Myers over the top. If Genty's not very good, if the offensive line is terrible, this team's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and Ashton Genty is going to frustrate you because he's going to have 3 carries for 5 yards, but then there's going to be 4 carries for 52. You know, like that's the kind of guy he's going to be. He's not Barry Sanders, okay? But I'm just saying, like, those kind of runs is what's going to happen. He gets bottled up a lot, and then all of a sudden he goes off. Raheem Mostert is there, maybe to steal some touchdowns. Zamir White, believe it or not, is back. I don't think they brought that guy Sincere back again from last year. I had him in fantasy. I picked him up. They did. They have him back. Sincere. What's the last name?
I think I might have had him for the one game you scored a touchdown before I moved on. But yeah, I remember Sincere.
One game last year. Yeah. All right. So wide receiver wise, Raiders. I do think Jacoby Myers is one of the more underrated wide receiver 3s in football. He plays every game. He gets his 5 catches. He gets his 60 yards. George. Every once in a while, there's a touchdown. To me, there's something to be said for that. And then they have Bowers, and unfortunately, the Raiders don't have much after that.
Agreed. It's Bowers and it's Myers. That's really it. Myers, they use him as a wide receiver 1. Let's face it, he's a wide receiver 2, but they don't know what choice. Their teams will be worried about Genty. They will be worried about Bowers. No one pays attention to Myers. All right, so I like Myers a lot here. I think he's going to have a nice season there. Remember, he puts up decent numbers with Minshew and whoever else, O'Connell. Fields better than those guys, right? And spoiler alert, I think I drafted Myers in that draft we're talking about. That's going to show eventually on this network.
The guy still catches 6-7 touchdowns a year and 60, 70 catches, 1,000 yards. Buy or sell up next.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
It doesn't matter that they're early in the game, late in the game, they're trailing, they're leading. It doesn't matter, garbage time. CeeDee Lamb is the guy, and we saw that even after Dak got hurt last year and Cooper Rush was under center. Targets were going to CeeDee Lamb. And when you can get 9, 10, 12, 15 targets on a game-by-game basis, he's going to rack up fantasy points every single week. Frankly, he underperformed last year.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Answer is this. 12-team, 3 wide receiver, you take Jamar Chase. In a 10-team league, though, where you have only 2 wide receivers to start, it's an interesting supply and demand situation with a roster like that. That is where the Bijan number 1 overall maybe comes into play, because you could take Bijan and then turn around. You're still getting 2 number 1 wide receivers in a 10-team league draft.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
In extras, knocked out the Reds 6-5. This team doesn't lose. And the only thing I want to say, Tom, is I just hope they can continue this. Now, what does that mean? 40 games in a row? Of course we know it's not going to be the case. They are peaking right now. We've seen so many times. Baseball's a long season. Boy, if the Brewers were playing this baseball on September the 28th, watch out. But they are sensational right now.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. We're going to wrap it up today with some true or false questions. For those of you new to the show, we don't just play true or false. We play a game, and I'll ask George some questions. I'll answer them myself. We call it buy or sell. Well, this has been a hot button topic on this show for over a year. George is going to have to weigh in. Maybe he's shifted his opinion here. And you know what? I'm gonna go off the grid here on SportsGrid. I'm going first. If Patrick Mahomes' career ended right now, he would be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Now, there's a lot of you out there that are watching that are like, how is this even a question? I know you are. But you're going to hear from my co-host, George Kurtz, in a minute. But let me go first. Patrick Mahomes has won multiple Super Bowls. He's been the very best or one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL for almost 8 years, with the exception of last season. If he never played another down in the NFL, his career is better than a guy who also won a Super Bowl in Kurt Warner. Patrick Mahomes is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Period. End of story. Bye. George?
So many things to go off here. First off, there should be no such things as first ballot Hall of Famers. All right. Now, either you are a Hall of Famer or you're not a Hall of Famer. By the way, first ballot, this is weird to me. But I do get the honor there. He will be a Hall of Famer. If he stopped right now, we talked about it last year, so he has another year under his belt. He's getting closer to me, but you got to play. I think you have to play at least 10 years for me. You have to play 10 years.
What's he on, 9?
There. Do we count the first year where he played one game? I guess you do. Technically, I guess you do.
Sort of.
So he's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he's 8. So he's getting close to me. I'm not denying he will be a Hall of Famer. I'm just saying if he ended right now, he's certainly getting closer. But 10 years to me, I don't see how you can get it without 10 years. And by the way, I don't think Kurt Warner's a Hall of Famer. Period.
Right. I understand, but he is.
Right. But I am a very tough Hall of Fame. I think the Hall of Fame has to be the greatest of the great.
I know.
I would take guys out before I put them in. I have no doubt that Mahomes will be that when he retires. I get it. But right now, no, I wouldn't. And I don't care how many Super Bowls you won, by the way. I hate that. This is Dan Marino shouldn't be in. No, hate it. We're gonna throw Trent Dilfer in there. No, Eli Manning's not a Hall of Famer, by the way. He's not. No one's taking Eli Manning on their team, by the way, over any of the quarterbacks that were available back then. Brett Favre's of the world and guys. No. He will be, but not quite yet. But he's getting closer.
Why? But I hate to do this, but why was Brett Favre a Hall of Famer?
Well, his numbers are fantastic.
He threw more than anybody ever.
He was a gunslinger, right? He didn't care. You know,
I know, but I'm just saying, like, if Brett Favre, George, was in the NFL right now doing the things that he did back then, he's Jameis Winston. He's not allowed to play in the NFL, throwing 25 picks a season. He's not. I think Favre's a Hall of Famer too. I'm not saying he's not. All I'm saying is that you're too tough. Your criteria is too tough.
6 interceptions. Yee. That's a lot.
in this day,
36.
You throw 10 and it's like, oh, you're benched. This guy he threw 30 picks a year.
Let's see. Yeah, he threw 24. 23, 23, 29, 22. Oh, wow. 20. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's a stands for 16.
And by the way, 100% famer for me. I'm just saying that the criteria is different now.
It is.
Than what it was then. And that's why I got Mahomes so far ahead of these other guys. Okay. Let's go to Justin Herbert now. Justin Herbert of the Chargers will be the best fantasy quarterback in the AFC West this season. If you're just joining us, that means he's ahead of Mahomes, he's ahead of Bo Nix, and he's ahead of Geno Smith. Buy or sell?
I mean, I'll give you Geno. You might be ahead of Geno. I'm not so sure you can be ahead of Mahomes and Nix. Once again, without even discussing Herbert, I would take the field anyway, right? It's close enough for you just take the field. I don't think he's going to be that guy. You and I just discussed it. We think they're going to be a running team. You know, it's McConkey or bust on that team. If McConkey gets hurt, by the way, the Chargers are done. Now, because there's no one else to throw the ball to. No one cares about Disley or Quentin Johnson. So this is a sell for me. Love Justin Herbert, but I've said it when we discussed the Chargers. He's a better NFL quarterback than a fantasy quarterback. To me, he's a quarterback 2 in fantasy, where Mahomes, Nix are both quarterback 1s.
Yeah, this is a sell for me also. There's no way. I mean, honestly, I think he's going to be last. I think Geno Smith will have a better year than him, fantasy-wise. I just do. I'm sorry,
I don't
Sam.
disagree.
I just think so. So this is a sell for me. Geno Smith will lose the Raiders' starting job by week 10. They have no one behind him. I mean, come on. This is look, he could lose the job if he's like has 3 weeks of 10 interceptions or something like that, but the Raiders have nowhere to go. I mean, no backup let me say this. No backup quarterback outside of maybe the top 2 or 3 are good in the NFL. There are not even enough good starters in the NFL. The Raiders are not one of those teams that's ready to go to a backup quarterback. They have a bottom 10 backup in the NFL. Geno's going the whole way if he can.
I don't really have much to add here. I agree. I mean, it's a sell. I don't think Geno's all that great, but he's 10 times better than O'Connell. Plus, remember, Carroll brought him in there for a reason. He wanted him. All right, he's going to give Geno all the rope he possibly needs to hang himself. No, I'm not really worried about that. Geno will be the quarterback all season long, unless there's an injury, then he won't be. But that's a sell.
All right, I have a feeling we know where we're going here. Matthew Stafford will start 13-plus games this season. I would have went under on 3. So go ahead, George.
I originally said it at 13.5. Said it several times over these shows over the weeks. I probably would lower that now. So yes, this is a sell for me. Even if everything's fine, which you and I don't believe, he ain't playing 13 games. That would be a shock to me here. So no, I'll take the under. I'd probably set it at 11.5 now. So I'm going considerably under what my normal set here. And Craig doesn't believe that at all.
The guy has not appeared in any preseason games, any joint practices, and has thrown a ball probably 15 times the entire camp. And you're telling me in 12 days he's starting for the Rams in an NFL game?
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
It doesn't matter that they're early in the game, late in the game, they're trailing, they're leading. It doesn't matter garbage time. CeeDee Lamb is the guy. And we saw that even after Dak got hurt last year and Cooper Rush was under center. Targets were going to CeeDee Lamb. And when you can get 9, 10, 12, 15 targets on a game-by-game basis, he's going to rack up fantasy points every single week. Frankly, he underperformed last year.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Answer is this. 12-team, 3 wide receiver, you take Jamar Chase. In a 10-team league, though, where you have only 2 wide receivers to start, it's an interesting supply and demand situation with a roster like that. That is where the Bijan number 1 overall maybe comes into play, because you could take Bijan and then turn around. You're still getting 2 number 1 wide receivers in a 10-team league draft.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
In extras, knocked out the Reds 6-5. This team doesn't lose. And the only thing I want to say, Tom, is I just hope they can continue this. Now, what does that mean? 40 games in a row? Of course we know it's not going to be the case. They are peaking right now. We've seen so many times. Baseball's a long season. Boy, if the Brewers are playing this baseball on September the 28th, watch out. But they are sensational right now.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. At least we got some clarity on, I think, every situation, George, except for the Saints, more or less, is murky. Right, like that's the murky one. Everything else is done. Colts go with Daniel Jones, and the Browns go to Joe Flacco. And Brown's in preserving mode just to be like, all right, let's not lose 15 games if we can. And for the Colts, it's going with someone that they feel, honestly, it can keep them in a game. That's it. I mean, Richardson can give away a game. Jones can at least keep them in a game. It's not that I disagree or agree with both decisions, but I understand both. But look, there's no you get 5 years in the NFL as a head coach. You get 2. And if you're terrible after 1, you're done sometimes. So for Shane Steichen, this genius, this guy who the Colts brought in, he's got to win a little bit more this year. And by the way, I think they'll be fine with Daniel Jones. I think they're going to win 9 games or 8 games, maybe 10, maybe 6. And worst case, they go back to Richardson.
I think you're right, by the way. I think that's exactly why they're going with Daniel Jones, is because, once again, he'll win you games. He will win you games. He's better than Richardson here. So if Steichen is playing for his job, is coaching for his job, yeah, he might have been told, hey, we need to win at least 8 games or make the playoffs, or else you're not the coach next year. Well, he doesn't care about next year then. He cares about winning this year. I think that's why Daniel Jones is there. I think it's the wrong move long term. I think you need to find out if Anthony Richardson's your guy. If not, hey, you sort of want to suck then. Let Richardson be the quarterback, win 3 games, get your quarterback next year. All right, and go on from there. Daniel Jones sort of puts you in hell. He might win you 8 games, which does you no good. And now you're picking 17, 18. You still don't have a quarterback. So I don't I don't like the move, but it is what it is. Joe Flacco with Cleveland, it's almost the same situation. I get it. Sanders was hurt a little bit, but I think he is going to be the quarterback shortly. Week 4, week 6, it'll be Sanders before long to see if he's that quarterback. Because Cleveland, same situation. You have 2 number 1s next year. You need to figure it out. Do you have a quarterback? Do you not have a quarterback here? And as for the Saints, who cares? They're the worst team in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm looking up the Browns schedule here because I'm going to tell you, for fantasy purposes, what you want to do is you want to find that road Browns game where they get absolutely crushed. Let me tell you when that's going to happen here. 2025 the Ravens defense. Okay, here's a good one. Detroit's defense, the 28th of September. Browns at Lions. Get ready for that one. Let's end the show. Here's a little commentary from George on the SportsGrid 60.
All right. You didn't think we were going to go a whole show without talking about the Cowboys, did you? It's not allowed. The Micah Parsons thing is depressing, to put it nicely here. Craig, I got to tell you, I fully believe that Jerry thinks that because he negotiated a deal with Micah in a back room or whatever at practice, that counts. What people keep forgetting, by the way, is an owner is not allowed to talk to a player about a contract without the agent being present. It's against the CBA rules. And no one talks about this. It's against the CBA rules. And Jerry Jones admitted it yesterday that he did this. You can't do it. So just a weird situation what's going on with them in Dallas. I think Jones wants to win a contract. He lost with Emmitt Smith back in the day. He lost with Zach Martin, lost with Dak Prescott, lost with CeeDee Lamb. For some reason, he's drawing the line in the sand here at Micah, and he wants to win this contract. And listen, you know how I feel. Jerry doesn't care about winning. He cares about getting his face on camera, getting his face on TV. He admitted this the other day too as well. When things are going quiet, I like to stir things up here. It's a soap opera in Dallas. Always has been, always will be. Cowboys will never win consistently again with Jerry Jones as the owner.
Let me tell you something. That documentary, I don't know if you've seen it on Netflix, George.
God, no.
It's fantastic, man. It is fantastic. I'm not a Cowboys fan at all. You would love it. I don't know why you are not watching that. It is really good, man. Really good. And your guy Jerry admitting he's wrong here and I messed up here and all this and smiling right through it. Fantastic. Jerry does a great job on that documentary. Okay, so look, I get a lot of things wrong. That's what we do here in fantasy and sports betting. There's, maybe you watch other shows, everyone tells you they got everything right. Every once in a while, I do get something right, and it was official this week when the Colts went over to Daniel Jones. If you watched this show many years ago when Anthony Richardson was drafted, at the time, I said it ain't happening for Anthony Richardson. Why? I watched him play every game at the University of Florida. But I want to be very clear on this. It's nobody's fault. This is the system we live in the NFL. The pressure when you take a kid top 3 or top 5 is to play them. It's not like it used to be where you could sit for a year. Richardson got paid. He is set for life. I got no issue with the whole situation. I'm just telling you that the kid was just not ready to play from the jump. For our producer, Sam, and for my co-host, George Kurtz, I'm Craig Mish. Have a great weekend, everyone.